Good morning, Predicted Trades family. Hope everybody is doing well. Let's dig on in. On a quick review, this week fell down to low of year, set some new lows past that. Yesterday we had that amazing bounce right back up. From our 4-hour squeeze bottom to the top. Overnight, we're drifting back. Usually statistically, when we push all the way, all day, and into close, statistically, we usually have a little gap down. So not surprised to see us drifting back down. And, some folks might be saying, why did we have such a strong bounce yesterday? Whenever we get to something critical, like a previous low of year, this 36.39, we should always be expecting a bounce. When we got to it on Tuesday, we bounced off of it. And even though we set new lows, we opened higher on Wednesday. Back at that key 36.68, and we pushed off of it. We can also think, everyone and their mother has been shorting. And when we get to low of year and get this bounce, you can bet there's a bunch of people that got short right here, expecting further gapping down. So you have people short from this 36.68. Overnight, you have people that were shorting down here at this 36.39. And all of those people got trapped as we opened above 36.68. So a bunch of folks that got in very late to the short, as it starts to pop above their entry, they have to get out. And in order to get out, they have to buy. So as people, as algos are buying, because we're in an uptrend going into open, algos start buying. Other algos have to get out of their shorts, which increases the buying. And, basically once the snowball starts to roll, it just keeps growing and growing until we run into something key and until volume steps back in. If you look, we had a bunch of volume at the beginning of the day that drifted all the way to the end of the day. And then we start to see volume step in on the last candle that pulls us back. We did make it all the way to that key 37.41, but now we are back at 3,700. Before we look at where we can go today, let me pull up our economic calendar real quick. Luckily, I think Powell is done talking for the week. So we have our weekly initial jobless claims, continuing jobless claims. We have some GDP numbers that are coming out today that will definitely hold some weight coming out in a few minutes. We also have some final sales, domestic purchases, and then we have some Fed speakers today. Bullard always loves to throw some curveballs at us. Tomorrow we have PCE price index, consumer spending, consumer incomes, some Chicago PMI, and University of Michigan. Just to take a quick look at next week, we don't have a bunch, but we do have some ADP employment data, some job data, and non-farm payroll to look forward to next week. So as today's prep was titled, will we get continuation to try to keep pushing higher? Will we just come back and consolidate? Or will that consolidation lead back down to new lows? We'll have to see. ES going to be opening between that key 37.08 and that 36.68. If we cannot push higher and get back above 37.08, back above 37.20, where we consolidated midday yesterday, then we will likely be coming back to test that 36.68. But if this little uptrend can continue over 37.08, get through this trend line from highs above 37.20, then it's back to 37.41, and the daily 8, which is at the top of this 4-hour squeeze. Past that, the next key level is 37.73. Looks like we do have a little hourly squeeze that's starting to form right at about that 36.88. So let's see if we can catch a bounce around there and start to take out these levels and trend lines to get back where we were. If we keep rejecting and start to make H's through that 36.88, 36.68, then we can expect that we will come back to previous low of year, the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze in that 36.21. We could also just consolidate between 36.68 and 37.08 and have a choppy day. With the 4-hour squeeze being so thick and mid-compression, we likely will not push through today. And in order to push through, we'll have to ride against one side. You know, kind of like this squeeze back here. This was a 2-hour. We fell to the bottom. We kept pushing and pushing until it starts to open up and fire. And of course, we got our reversal. I've talked about it time and again, but Wall Street has gotten wise to when a squeeze releases and shows that it's firing. They love to reverse it right there, especially when it's falling into another squeeze. We had a 2-hour fall into a 4-hour, and we get that reversal. So let's see today if we can continue this uptrend from overnight, or from this morning, sorry, and break through the downtrend from overnight. On NQ. Oh my goodness, look at these trend lines. I think we can get rid of some of these. On NQ. We've set a nice pre-market low at that 360. We're trying to hold above that 400. Let's see if we can continue to hold that 40-point range and push through this trend line from old highs, get back to this psych level of 11,500, this key level of 491. If we can get through that, looking to get back to the daily 8, back to yesterday's highs at the top of this 4-hour squeeze. Past that, key level is 677. But if we keep rejecting that psych level 500, if we start to take out pre-market low, then we are likely coming back to retest this second Keltner to the downside at around 275, psych level 250, and then our key level at 197, call it 200 at the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze. Alrighty, one of the stronger names yesterday took off out of this key zone I've been talking about and made it all the way back to the daily 8. I think it was the only index actually to get to the daily 8. ES and NQ did not tap. We are starting to slip back down, but doing a great job of holding the top of this zone. So on the ruddy, it's going to be a great gauge today. As long as we can stay above 1690, 1700, a little 10-point range, and push, we can get that continuation, get back to that daily 8 and first Keltner down at about 1725, 1730. If we can get through yesterday's highs, then it's a mission to get up to the daily 21. Not necessarily saying it has to happen today, but if we can take out yesterday's highs, first stop that 1750, and then 1780 where the daily 21 and daily 15 sit. If we start to give out that 10-point zone from 1690 to 1700, we'll be coming back to 1675 where that second Keltner to the downside sits. And if that gives out back to this 1656 key level, that as long as we keep holding it, I'm going to be playing long. Once we start to give this out, we are going to be talking about more significant drops in low of year, new low of year. YM almost made it to the daily 8, stopped short at this 4-hour squeeze top. Holding above this 315. So basically looking for that 315 to 400 to hold. We got a little hourly squeeze there. If we can hold around that 315, 400, and the second Keltner at 450. If we can hold there and start to bounce up, first stop we need to take out this 640, then pre-market high, then yesterday's high, which now the daily 8 aligns with. Past that, we got a big key psych level of 30,000 in the top of this 4-hour squeeze. Should we start to get out of this to the upside, we got the daily 21 up there, a hair above the psych 30,500 level. But if we roll back and start to give out 400, start to give out that 315, then we will likely slide right back down to the bottom of the squeeze, psych level 29,000, and this 846, which would be lower than this week's low. We could just consolidate between these key levels as well, just like we did Friday and Monday and leading into Tuesday's drop. Apple. Apple was interesting yesterday. It dropped kind of the hardest out of most tech. It took a long time to get going, but once it finally got going, it ramped up and helped push the market at the end of the day. Now it's right back down. So for upside in the market, want to see Apple hold this 4-hour squeeze bottom, this 146, pre-market low at the worst, and start to wake its way back up through these key levels. Apple does have that news that it's slowing or lowering production on the new iPhone. So, some of this selling and lack of taking back off could just be due to that news that they're going to be making less iPhones. Yeah, big deal. So, let's see if Apple can hold 146, get back to these key levels, back above 150, ultimate goal to get back to that daily 8, and this zone above that the daily 21 is catching up to. And the daily 15 as well. They will both be, flanking this zone above. So that's the next target after we take out the daily 8. If we can't hold, then we're going to likely roll back to yesterday's low and to this 144.5 key level. Beyond that, the third Keltner is down at 141. AMD. Chips, at least did move up with the market yesterday. Coming back now. Let's see if AMD can hold this third Keltner down, which will be around 66.5. If it gives that out, it's coming back to 66. And potentially this week's low, or yesterday's pre-market low. But if we can hold and start to take back off, looking to get back to yesterday's highs around 68.5, 69, and 70 in the top of this 4-hour squeeze, where the daily 8 should be stepping down to. Amazon. Definitely strong yesterday off these squeeze bottoms, making it all the way back to 118. And the daily 8. Only having a slight dip this morning. Where's my ES? Let's see what this reaction is looking like. Okay, so unemployment just came out. We are starting to sell, but we're not taking out lows just yet. Amazon. Let's see if Amazon can hold above 115. It's going to be a pretty big key. If we slip down there, want to see 115 hold and catch a bounce to get back to 118. This daily 8, top of the squeeze, 120. And past that, about 122, where the daily 21, daily 15 are slowly catching up to. But if we give out 115, then we'll likely come back to retest 113.5, 113, and past that, 112 in this week's lows. And just like everything else, big fat 4-hour squeeze, so likely going to be stuck in this range, or at least today. VA made a nice move back up above 130. So on a dip, definitely looking for 130 to hold. If we can hold, one goal is to push back to about 135 where that daily 8 sits. But if we start to lose 130, coming back to retest 128, 126, 125. Cat. Nice move up yesterday above 165. Looking for that to hold. If it can, looking to get back to 170, this daily 8. And first Keltner will be flanking 170. If we start to give out that 165, then likely coming back to 162.5, 160. Google, super strong yesterday, got back to 100 and the daily 8. Having a little gap down with everything else. Looking for 98 to hold today. If we can hold 98, looking to get back to 100, that daily 8, and 101, where that first Keltner down will be. And if we can start to break out of this 4-hour squeeze to the upside this week, daily 21 and daily 15 above. Looks like we're starting to slip for new lows on ES. If we can't hold 98, then coming back to 97, 96. GS made it back to 300. Looking for 295 to hold today. If it can, looking to get back to 300 to 305, where that daily 8 is slowly catching up to. If we start to give out 295, back to 290, 288. Meta. Heard so many people in other rooms talking about Meta yesterday. Had one good day. After, I don't even know, 400 days, I think someone in our room said, watch. After 400 days down, had one good day. Not really going to focus on Meta. It did make it back to the daily 8 from the third Keltner. But if we are going to roll over, this is going to be one of the first names. Let's see if we can hold above 138, push back through 140 and the daily 8, with the ultimate goal trying to get up to the daily 21. If we start to give out 138, coming right back down to retest 135, and then 132. Microsoft. Definitely a strong name yesterday. Got back to that 241 and that daily 8. Let's see. Yep, looking for 236 to hold. If that starts to give out, we might sit down and get a full test of this 232.86 during a cash session instead of free market. Big key level at the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze. If we can hold up above 236, looking to get back to 240, 241 where the daily 8 sits, 243 where that first Keltner down is going to be sitting. And the daily 21 is starting to come inside of that 250. Something to keep an eye out on. Netflix, super strong yesterday. Talked about this in prep yesterday. Been stuck under this trend line in the pre-market. We were already above it and back to our moving averages. So I talked about how Netflix could soar, and boy, did it. The 240s on Netflix hit our buy zone on our beast zone on Tuesday at the lows. And with the gap up, I think they were opened up already a double. But they did provide an entry at around $1.50, and they ran to $7 or $8 on Netflix. Either way, made it up to that daily squeeze again. Looking for 240 to hold on Netflix today for continuation of the upside. If 240 can hold, I'm looking to get back, to yesterday's highs, 245, 246, and then ultimately that 250 big key level. And yeah, in one day it made it from first Keltner down to first Keltner up. It's like a 2-day move, right? Definitely strong relative strength. If we start to give out 240, then coming back to 236 for a test, And if that gives out, then back to these daily moving averages. NVIDIA, nice and strong, made it back to the daily 21 and the top of the squeeze. Already coming back. Let's see if it can hold that second Keltner at about 124. If we can hold 124, looking to get back through 126 to 128, ultimately up to 130, where this first Keltner and daily 15 are slowly catching up to. But if we do give out that 124, then we're likely coming back to 122, and maybe 120 for a test in this bottom of this 4-hour squeeze. QQQ. Made it back up to that 280. Starting to slip. Let's see if 274 can hold us up. As long as we stay above 274, looking to catch a bounce back up to 280 and to that daily 8. And past that up to kind of drew a zone here above around 282, 283 and a half. So that'll be the next target. If we start to take out 274, 272, 270. SPX made it up to from our 3645 to that gap zone where it reached in for a second and rejected. Going to be gapping down about 40 points. So going to be opening right back here near 3680. You know, ultimately, if we do dip, looking for that 3645 to hold again. Let's see if 3680, 3675 can hold us up. If we can get a bounce and an attempt for continuation, have to get through 3700 and back to this gap fill zone. If we can push into that, we'll take, we have the daily 8 in that gap fill, and getting to about 3760 completely fills the gap. But if we start to give out, coming back to this 3645, and then low of week. Next key level at 3600 psych level and 3587. SPY. You know, also has a gap that it got up to yesterday and rejecting now. SPY, very simple, looking for this 3645 to hold us. We do have a higher low. Even though ES kind of set a new pre-market low. But ultimately, looking for this 365 to try to hold us up. If we can catch a bounce there and hold, you know, if we can hold pre-market low and that 365, making a little $2 zone. If we can hold here, looking to get back up to 370, and then to try to push to 374 to fill the gap and hit the daily 8. But if we give out 365, 364, coming back to 362, and possibly 360 at the bottom of the squeeze for a test. Tesla. Definitely been strong every day. I've been calling out those 295 calls all week. Hit our beast zone at $1, ran to 3, gapped up to about 4 or 5. They came back and held that $1 beast level. Even yesterday, tapped that $1 beast level, and I think they ran to like 250, something like that. Squeeze is getting tighter and tighter. Let's see if Tesla can stay above 280, 278, where that first Keltner sits. If we can catch a bounce there, looking to get back through 285, 290, and to keep trucking up to 295. But if we start to give out to 280 in that daily Keltner, then we'll slip back to 275. And if that can't hold, 270. UVXY was very helpful yesterday. Gave out and ran back below 12. Now we're gapping above it. So wanting to see for upside today, want to see UVXY stay under 12.5 and start rolling back to 12. And back to this daily 8 at 11.5 at the bottom of these squeezes. But if we're going to get downside today and roll back over, UVXY going to get above 12.5, use it as support to get up to 13, and maybe even back to this 13.5. On VIX. On VIX, talked about yesterday when it's for upside, wanted it to stay below 33.5 and run back to 30, and boy did we get that. Running all the way back to 30 at the low of day. So for upside today, I would like to see us stay below 32.5, which is still the top of a daily squeeze. If we can stay below that and drift down, need to take out 31 and 30 where that daily 8 sits, with a goal of getting to the bottom of these squeezes back at 29.5, 29.2, 29. But if we're going to roll over and see downside in the market today, we will see VIX get above 32, above 32.5, back to 33 and 33.5. So hopefully this was helpful for everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It is Thursday free day where we will be in our main chat and where you can test out our tools if you have not joined yet. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this is helpful for everybody. Remember, no beast, no feast. We'll see you in the chat.